Good afternoon. My name is Jared Kimball, and welcome to Arklatex Ag Talk. Let's talk state bills. That's right. As you know, our state representatives and state senators this last week went right into session, and so we're going to be talking about the state bills that a lot of them have proposed and put through to see how far, if we can make it all the way to some of these bills on state laws. We're going to start off here by talking about all the ones that were put into the system, and what I mean by that is they're put in there and have to be heard on the committee floors and then followed all the way down. So we'll start with State Bill 561. Provides that any person who raises quail for personal consumption or non-commercial purpose shall not be required to obtain license from the director of the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. That's Senator Jett. State Bill 1070 creates Kenny's Law. Kenny's Law is a measure that gates of an enclosed containing livestock remain closed at all times unless an ingress or egress of livestock is currently in process, maintained, and is in the progress of the property, livestock being moved from one area to another, or the owner has a functional reason to access of the area. Individuals that violate this requirement or who purposely damage such gates can be subject to a maximum fine of $1,000 and or imprisonment to not exceed 180 days of each separate offense. The penalties are increased for the third violations, and the penalty can increase to $2,500 and or 1 year for individuals who violate these provisions. And that was put in by Senator Woods. State Bill 477, Senator Jett is the one that submitted this bill, strikes language specifically for a dairy farmer or producer who makes cheese using milk or cream produced from the farm, or such farmer or producer shall not prohibit from making such products under the Oklahoma Milk and Milk Product Act. This measure also authorizes the advertisement of donkey milk. And that was Senator Jett, who's the one that submitted that state bill. State Bill 338 directs the Oklahoma Wildlife Conservation Commission to limit a person's license to hunt and harvest white-tailed deer in the state to bag or possess no more than one antlered white-tailed deer per year. This limit shall not apply to persons licensed to hunt and harvest white-tailed deer in a commercial hunting area. That was Senator Green who submitted that bill. State Bill 280 creates the Feral Swine Eradication and Control Grant Program. This program shall provide Oklahomans with education, equipment, and services associated with the eradication and control of feral swine. This measure directs the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry to coordinate with the Department of Wildlife Conservation and the Oklahoma Conservation Commission to distribute resources for the capture or eradication of feral swine. The total maximum grant fund shall be no more than $500,000 and shall be derived from the legislative appropriations and or public and private sources. That was Senator Woods who submitted that bill. And as we all know, with the feral swine, as they're coming in closer and closer to our urban areas and into our cities as well, for many, many years, feral swine programs, as they've had problem out in the country and the farms, as they cause billions of dollars each year in damages to farms and ranches all across America. So I'm sure happy and so glad to see the Department of Wildlife and ODAF and the Oklahoma Conservation Commission coming together to put more grant money out there to help with that for farmers and ranchers here across the state of Oklahoma. State Bill 263, Invasive Species, the expanded provisions of the Terry Peach Water Restoration Act, adds redberry juniper and ash juniper and honey mesquite to that list of harmful woody species. That was Senator Murdoch who submitted that bill. And State Bill 720 directs the Oklahoma Wildlife Conservation Commission to limit a person's license to hunt and harvest the quail of 7 per day. That was Senator Kern submitted that bill. State Bill 330 directs the Oklahoma State University Medicine Authority to establish a plan and outline for a comprehensive study on the elk population within the special Northwest Zone in cooperation with the Oklahoma State University, the College of Veterinary Medicine. This measure provides a study hall to include recommendations to conserve and manage the population of elk in the study. This measure appropriates $2 million to the authority to conduct the study. Senator Murdoch also submitted that bill. State Bill 1007 expands the definition of conservation as it relates to the Conservation District Act to include the management, restoration, and rehabilitation of natural resources here in the state. This measure also provides that the disposal of excess waters shall be for the public benefit and sustainable social and economic utilization. Senator Murdoch also submitted that bill. State Bill 1081 authorizes the Department of Agriculture, Food and Forestry, or ODAF as we call it, to enter into any public or private partnership to foster veterinary medicine business development in rural communities and other areas with shortage of such services. As we all know, this is a very, very good bill, and we hope it all goes through. As we all know, large animal veterinarians are few and far between in rural America and also in rural Oklahoma as well. So that being said, it will give a help to those guys and girls, as Senator Murdoch also submitted that bill. State Bill 478 removes all permitted and license fees to hunt feral swine regardless of day and time. As we just talked about earlier in the other state bill, there were 280 of the feral swine. And I'm glad to see Senator Deers submitting that bill as well. So again, you can hunt feral swine regardless time or day of the permitting and the licensing fees. Your State Bill 1074, it requires any person holding a wildlife or domesticated animal hunted for sport or commercial harvesting facility to first procedural license from the Oklahoma Department of Ag, Food and Forestry. Commercial harvesting facilities shall be issued a commercial harvesting facility license upon the completion of an application and adhere to all applicable laws and rules. This measure authorizes the Secretary of Ag and the state veterinarian to inspect the facilities. This measure establishes a $300 annual fee for the license and sets up as an expiration date of August 31st of each year. Senator Murdoch also submitted that bill. State Bill 940 directs the Oklahoma Conservation Commission to implement a statewide plan for the control, removal, and eradication of harmful woody species on the state-owned, leased, or operated land. This measure directs the various state agencies to compile and present a report, determine and effect inventory of the subsequent plan to control or remove such species no later than January 1st, 2026. Such agencies shall submit a report to the legislator no later than November 1st, 2026, and each year thereafter, detailing the progress of the control and the removal. Senator Jeets submitted that bill as well. State Bill 120 requires the owner and operators of a poultry feed operations to provide proof of state residency for at least 2 years immediately preceding the date of application for registration or renewal registration. Proof of residency may be established with an unexpired driver's license, state-issue identification card, utility bill, residential property deed, or rental agreement. That was submitted by our senator for this area, Senator George Burns. State Bill 136 directs the Oklahoma Department of Food and Forestry and establish a moratorium on the registration of any new poultry feed and concentrated animal feeding operations engaged in poultry feeding operations if any inspection of existing operations would result in a penalty, and the department shall cease registration in violating poultry feeding or concentrated animal feeding operations. Senator Burns also submitted that bill as well. State Bill 1008 provides the surface water withdrawal permits shall be conditioned upon the measurement of subsurface soil moisture content. The measure directs the Oklahoma Water Resources Board to develop standards for regular assessment of such content and to the development moisture thresholds. The measure requires permittees to conduct regular soil moisture assessments. Senator Murdoch also submitted that bill. And then State Bill 722 prohibits the use of electronically monitored as a method to officially identify livestock species. Senator Kern also submitted that bill. So you see here there's numerous different bills that's been submitted here at the first of the session, and we look forward to watching these bills, and we'll have more episodes seeing which bills come on down the line, which ones get heard in committee and get passed through to different subcommittees as well, and which ones will maybe make it all the way to the governor's desk to be issued into a state law. So we look forward to that. But again, thank you all very much for joining us today. My name is Jared Kimball with ArkLaTex Ag Talk, and we'll see you on the next episode.